All right, before we talk about how wings work, we need to understand the four main forces acting on any aircraft while it's flying. Whether it's a paper airplane, a tiny drone, or a massive Boeing 747, these four forces decide whether it stays in the air or not. First up, we've got lift. This is the upward force that pushes the airplane up, fighting against gravity. It's mostly created by the wings, and we'll explain how that happens in just a minute. Next is weight, or gravity, pulling the plane down toward Earth. And yes, even in the sky, gravity is working 24/7, trying to bring everything back down. Then we have thrust, the forward force produced by the engines. Whether it's a propeller or a jet engine, thrust is what moves the airplane forward through the air. And finally, there's drag, which is the air resistance pushing against the airplane as it moves. Just like how you feel wind against your face when you run, airplanes feel drag when they move through the air. So, for an airplane to successfully take off and stay in the air, lift has to be greater than weight, and thrust has to be greater than drag. It's basically a constant tug of war happening in the sky. And that's the basic setup. Now that you've met the four forces of flight, let's move on and see how the wings, those large surfaces attached to the plane, magically create lift. Spoiler alert, it's pure physics and it's way cooler than you think. How wings create lift. All right, now it's time for the star of the show, lift. Ever wondered how an airplane's wings manage to push all that weight into the sky? Well, it comes down to a clever design and a bit of physics magic called Bernoulli's principle. Let's take a look at a cross-section of a wing. Notice how it's curved on top and flatter underneath? That's called an airfoil. And the shape of this airfoil is no accident. It's designed to control how air moves around the wing. As the airplane moves forward, air splits at the front of the wing, called the leading edge, and travels both over and under the wing. Now, here's where Bernoulli's principle kicks in. It tells us that the faster air moves, the lower its pressure. Because the top of the wing is curved, the air traveling over the top has to move faster than the air underneath. That faster moving air creates a low pressure area above the wing, while the slower air below creates higher pressure. And what happens when you have high pressure below and low pressure above? You get an upward push, and that's what we call lift. So it's not about air meeting back up at the back of the wing. That's a common myth. In reality, the air over the top moves much faster than the air underneath. And it doesn't stop there. Pilots can also control the angle of attack, which is the angle between the wing and the oncoming air. Increasing this angle increases lift up to a certain point. But be careful. Too much angle, and you'll disrupt the airflow, causing a stall. A stall isn't what Hollywood movies make it out to be. It just means the wings can't produce enough lift anymore because the airflow has separated from the wing's surface. So to sum it up, wings are designed to control the speed of air above and below them, creating a pressure difference that lifts the plane into the sky. Simple physics, but incredibly effective. What about thrust and drag? All right, so we've talked about lift, but there's another important pair of forces we can't ignore, thrust and drag. These two forces decide how fast an airplane moves through the air and whether it can keep moving at all. Let's start with thrust. Thrust is the forward-moving force generated by the airplane's engines. Whether it's a propeller plane, a jet engine, or even a rocket, they all create thrust by forcing air, or exhaust gases, backward, which pushes the plane forward. It's Newton's third law in action. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Now, as the plane speeds up, it has to push through the air, and the air pushes back. That's what we call drag, the air resistance trying to slow the plane down. The faster you go, the stronger the drag gets. That's why engineers spend a lot of time designing airplanes with smooth aerodynamic shapes to reduce drag as much as possible. And here's the balancing act. For an airplane to move forward, thrust needs to be greater than drag. At cruising speed, thrust and drag balance out to keep the plane moving steadily. So while lift and weight fight in the up and down direction, thrust and drag battle it out in the forward and back direction. How planes take off and stay in the air. When a plane is ready for takeoff, the engines generate a huge amount of thrust, pushing the airplane forward down the runway. As the plane accelerates, air flows faster over and under the wings, and the lift force starts to build up. At a certain speed, called takeoff speed, the lift becomes strong enough to overco.